Hello everyone, this is Charlotte and this is a podcast called Chatting in Cars. It's where I talk about other things, random things, at length while I drive to work. You'll hear me swearing, you'll probably hear other things beeping, I don't know. I do have a disclaimer at the start of this podcast because I talk about random topics and they do all weave into each other. So it might start on one topic and turn into another one. So there's a lot of cross-mentioning of sensitive topics, so if you don't want to hear that kind of stuff, I suggest change the channel. I also swear a lot, so if you don't want to hear that, I'm not going to make you hear that. Come on, guys. You got to be an adult about this and make your own choices, so you can change the channel again. I don't sugarcoat shit, so I'm not going to fucking, I'm not going to make things nice and pretty and fluffy, because in reality, they aren't. Some things are, but most things are, not always fluffy. You're going to have to deal with that. That's the good and the bad. Right, the topic for today is Hermit mode. Anyone who knows about tarot cards or has an idea, maybe you've seen some shit on YouTube. It's getting pretty popular these days, talking about tarot cards and things. Hermit, the Hermit card, is one of the dominant major arcana of the tarot deck. Oh, look at that moon. Sorry, squirrel kicking in. We just had the Sturgeon supermoon, so I'm looking at it going, why is it still out in the daytime? But the Hermit mode is just basically going inside yourself and examining what your life is about, what kind of things you want to be or do. If you have listened to the other podcast I did about the value of alone or the value of silence, which I did one after the other, you have some background to why. Well, that was my first real hermit mode session. So that was when I first got separated from all the weird bullshit that happened in my life, so I could reassess and reevaluate what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't really have a choice in that one because that was the year my life dropped out the arse. So I did those one after the other. So they're pretty much linked. Hermit mode is great. People are afraid of being alone these days, I find. Or unless you're an introvert, you really do want to be alone and people keep fucking turning up. I'm an introvert, so I enjoy being alone. I'm also a Sigma female, so I have no issue with being alone in general. I did used to be very codependent on my ex-husband, now ex-husband, because I needed him for some kind of, external validation. I needed him to, make me feel valuable in any kind of a way. But that was because of the way I was raised. Now as an independent person, I just don't give a fuck. And there's such a high value to just not giving a fuck about what people think and what people do, and just not giving a fuck in general. I thoroughly recommend. I mean, not to the extent where you're going around creating, war crimes and genocide, but at the same time, stop letting things get to you so much. Stop taking things so personal, which I do struggle with still. I do have trouble with people, acting like dicks, and then you think, you sit there and you sort of try and think it through and think, why did they react that way? But that's, that's partly just being human and partly me being autistic. So you look at things people might have done to you and you don't want to play the victim, so you assess, okay, did I contribute in any way to this? Is there anything I could have done differently? So you sort of, what do they call it? Ruminate or something like that? Numerate. No, wait, hang on, that's something else. Ruminate, yes. You're sitting there thinking back and thinking, this could have gone differently. But at the same time, you don't need to worry about that because it's done now. Might maybe consider the ripple effect from those behaviours or what might come further down the line, but generally, don't stress too much. Hermit mode is valuable because you can go back and reassess what you want to do next time as well. Forced hermit mode can be troublesome. If you want to talk in sort of esoteric terms, when the universe steps in and forces you into it, where all your friends abandon you, or maybe you get arrested and go to prison, that's the universe stepping in and saying, you know what, you made some really fucked up decisions. I'm going to make you stop and pause with every aspect of your life to think about what you're going to do right now. So if anyone's listening to this and they're sitting in prison, ooh, the universal mum stepped in for you there. Here's your chance to, redo it and try and get it right this time before shit really hits the fan. And how many times you get arrested and go back to prison, I don't know. That's up to you. But yeah, but the lighter version of that is just saying, like, oh, maybe, like with me, my ex-husband left me. Well, I didn't really get left by him. He left me emotionally, psychologically beforehand, and I sort of sealed the deal by ending it. Dropped everything out of my life. All my uni disappeared, my businesses disappeared, my family fucked off. The only person I had who was in my family that came back was who I went to actually, was my brother. 2018 was a bullshit year. But it did force me to go into hermit mode. So I had to reassess what I was actually doing, what I found valuable, and what could actually be useful, and change it into something better for me, or better adapted to what I needed to do, or what I was learning at the time and wanted to upgrade. For example, I was sitting there doing a doctorate in education. It would have been a nice job progression thing, but at the same time it was a lot of stress. And at the time the jobs weren't available really anyway. I was just doing it on the off chance I could get a job. And from there, after my uni course dropped, I went into debt because of my ex-husband. So at the time, it was hard to keep doing the degree, whilst also trying to work full-time to pay off this fucking debt. So, I reassessed what I needed to do. Obviously, this was an extra that I didn't need to do right now. I should have just dealt with the fact that my life was falling apart, got myself out of debt, which is what I did anyway, and, powered through. So the uni went, anything that was accruing extra cost, like my businesses went. At the time, they were suffering because I couldn't put money back in to keep it running. So I had to drop that and just redistribute all my assets and things to try and recoup the losses. But you slim down what you need to do, what extra crap is costing you time, energy, and your focus, and you reassess what actually works. And then when you've got a chance and you want to start expanding again, you can work on expanding again. I mean, it was costing me, just to keep all my stock from my online stores, it was costing me something like $250 a month just to keep it in storage. So that would have been a big bill every month, which was just adding on top of the credit card debt I was already struggling to pay off. So you need to reassess and cut off the shit that isn't working. If it's making the situation worse, you need to cut it off. And that includes things like people as well. My family, for the most part, ignored me when I went through my sort of dark night of the soul, my first one, because they put it in the too hard basket. My parents are not emotionally intelligent in any way, actually, fuck's sake. So I'm surprised I became a teacher. So you kind of need emotional intelligence to handle kids. I picked that up on the way. But, it was put in too hard, but I just left my ex-husband because he, if you've listened to the other podcasts, he gave me the ultimatum about needing an open marriage, and I'm like, fuck no. So I left. That was the situation. And it absolutely fucking destroyed me. I was so invested in that relationship and that marriage and him, and I was just giving everything. And anyone who's gone through that knows how fucking gut-ripping it is to have to give it all up because of them being a selfish, arrogant piece of shit. So it rips you open, and you don't get to decide how to heal or if it heals or anything like that. It's like it might do. I'm still partly angry about it because it feels like a waste, and I hate waste. But my parents were not sympathetic to the cause. Let's just put it that way. And anything that's highly emotional that goes on that's like that, they just tend to fuck off. So. I went to my brother, who is emotionally intelligent, who is also a teacher, but he deals with high school kids. But he's a nice, soft guy, and it was a nice place to land. His wife is a passive-aggressive pain in the ass, but he's a great guy. So I leaned on him for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, while I was trying to figure out what the fuck I need to do next. But you start to learn who's actually good for you and who's not. I didn't hear anything from any of my friends really, but then again, I don't really talk about personal things with my friends. I'm pretty internal that way. Anything like my relations. I was pissed off, so I was bitching to my friend Chrissy, I'm pretty sure it was Chrissy I went to, about how much he was a piece of shit. but everyone's always so busy at this age that no one really gets to talk anymore. So unless you've got a few really close friends that you know, chat to at least once a week, you're pretty much on your own after a certain age. Maybe you're close with your siblings, but I've got my brother and my younger sister and my older sister, and it's just not really I'm close with my brother. I'm not close with my sisters too much in the same way. I think at most I send memes to my younger sister, and my older sister every now and again I say, hey, it's like, you still got kids and you're still doing the mum thing? It's like, yep, cool, all right. Still alive? Good, yep, okay. There's no real camaraderie there. But my brother Joey, I'm always hanging out with, sending memes to, and all kinds of weird shit. So we got the same sense of humor, so it works well. So if I need anything, or if he needs anything, we can sort of rely on each other. You also learn about what practices you need to keep going, which one's just not going to be helpful in the long term. My spending habits, for example, were crazy at the time because I wasn't thinking about what I was doing before everything went down. I mean, I went on a holiday, for fuck's sake, because I wanted to forget my marriage and what was happening. That was my form of escapism, was to run away to another country, as you do. Unfortunately, it put me into, you know, it contributed to the debt at the same time, but I just could not cope with anything. So, you know, essentially I ran home. I ran back to the UK. That is my home as far as I'm concerned. I was raised here in Australia, born in Australia, but that is my home. It's, for some reason, in my blood, it feels like home to me. Whether I've got some long lost twin over there or something, I don't know. But it feels like home to me. So what I did is I did what I normally do, and I just fucked off. I'm running away from my problems, and it made the problems worse. So that didn't help. But I had a good time. I put myself in debt to support my emotional, you know, fallout. I got away from the situation as much as I could. It was not a good thing. It was a good thing and it wasn't a good thing. In the end, I was still homeless. It's weird. It's a weird dichotomy because I had no money, but I was on holiday. I'm fucked in the head, I swear to God. How did you deal with this responsibility? I'm on a fucking holiday. Fuck you. I can't even remember what order I did that in either. It's like, I was in debt, and then I went into more debt, and then I was and then I was like homeless. So I'm like, oh fuck. It was a weird time period. Yeah. It was good though. I got to go and do a lot of shit, and I just took my mind off it. I don't recommend being that irresponsible. I think if you can, try and deal with the situation at hand before you start lumping on more fucking problems. I was silly that year, but I wasn't in my right mind. I don't know if that's an excuse. Probably not. I also did Invictus that year, actually. Fucking hell. I was busy. I was not stable. Anyway. What did I do? I know mid-year I went to the UK. But at the start of the year I was homeless. How did I do that? I don't know. Anyway. My brain's... I'm going to have to go back and look at my diaries. And just look. But the good thing about that was that it separated me from the physical context of the situation. Where would I have been? I would have been in Bob's house by then. I must have been mid-year. Yeah, my dead granddad's house that I was renovating. Anyway, yeah. Oh my God. I'm gonna have to, you know, lay this out as a mind map or something to you guys or something. It's like, this is the series of events. This is why I'm fucked in the head. But it was weird. It was a weird roller coaster of a time period. But you actually, to get away from the horribleness of the situation, I ran away. And I rarely run away, which is insane. And if you gotta run away, at least do it in style, right? Fuck off to another country. Pull an Aunt Pat and just go marry some Switzerland guy. Never come back. That's what my Aunt Pat did. She was a legend. Because she was faced with a similar sort of family situation. My mum's sister, oldest sister. Same sort of situation. Not divorced, but still living in shit conditions. And she said, fuck this, and eloped to Switzerland. And I'm going, you know what? You're a fucking legend, woman. It might seem like running away, but at the same time, you ran away to a better lifestyle. So, you know, it's like running off to join the circus, maybe. I don't know. But that hermit mode, that I was away for 5 weeks. And for 5 weeks, I was separated from the pain of the physical situation. And I was enjoying nice things, I know, because I was faced with a big fucking bill when I got back. And I could just stop and start healing a bit. Because when you're exposed to the situation, like if I'd gone back to my apartment, if I managed to get it back from him, I'd still be sitting there. And I did when I got the apartment back, because I eventually got it back because I had to renovate it. But I was sitting there and I was just remembering all this shit that I didn't want to remember. I was like, this is where we, you know, made love. This is where we cooked breakfast. This is where we had this argument. And so all this shit you remember, and you're sitting in this room going, why the fuck did I think this would happen? This would work. I hate this situation. I just want it gone. And you really start to detest the situation as well, because it's the promise of, it's the potential as well. It's like you planned out all this stuff, or you hoped for all this stuff, and then to have some bastard turn around and to rip it out of your hands because they wanted to get their dick wet. You sit there and think, I fucking hate this house. I fucking hate him. I fucking hate this situation. I hate all of this. I am more than ready to just slash and burn the whole fucking thing just to get it out of my face, you know? It was crazy. But yeah, I had to sit in it because we couldn't sell it right away, because if we'd sold it, we would have gone into further debt just selling it. So if he was sitting there thinking, because I was saying no to selling it at the time because I knew what it was valued at and what the market was, and I was sitting there watching it thoroughly because I wanted it gone and I wanted him gone. So I was sitting in this sort of, you know, shit-ass apartment, and I even had to renovate that because he trashed it on the way out. Remembering this shit that I didn't want and thinking, I just want it gone. I don't value this anymore. This has no value because it's been, you know, crippled by horrible circumstance and pain, and there's nothing good in it anymore. So as soon as I could, I fucking got rid of that apartment. I think we just broke even, to be honest. So I didn't even pay any of the debt off. It just broke even. But at least I had my name off it and I could start again. I was still in debt at that point, even when we did sell. Actually, wasn't I? No, I think I got myself out of it by then. Yeah, because then I moved in with my now ex-boyfriend. Crazy. Yeah. That was not a good decision either. I think that was working with some non-solid thoughts either. Because I was trying to get away from the shit circumstances of my marriage and my previous life and build with a person who was not stable anyway. And I was trying so hard. On the plus side, it served as motivation to get rid of my apartment, my old one, because it still had my ex-husband attached to it. On the downside, I moved into worse circumstances because I moved into a shitty rental that with a person who didn't love me was using me. So that was not nice, but it was a step towards the right direction. Unfortunately, yeah. I would have hoped that my ex-boyfriend could have been something more than what he was. At the start, he did give the impression that he was a good guy. But as you start to live with them and properly be in a relationship, or situationship, I should say, with them, things become more apparent and clear. And again, I mean, we broke up in like the January, and I moved out by April. So we only lived, so from September to April is how long I lived with him. In that time period, I really got to know what I was dealing with, and I'm going, this is shit. This is shit. It's like, I can't even, you know, fake my way through this or, you know, like brush it off anymore because it is shit. So I'm going, what the fuck? So from January to April, I went semi-hermit mode because we had broken up in January, and by April I moved out. We were getting evicted in May, but I'm like, fuck this, and I did it a month early. But again, that was like a mini hermit mode where I could reassess what I was doing. It's like, is this the person I could come back to, or am I going to have to cut this dead in the water and just go? And I did, and he kept going out and getting shit-faced with his mates, so I had plenty of time on my own, even though I was sitting there bawling my eyes out. And a few times, he saw that I was bawling my eyes out, and he still fucked off with his friends. So I'm sitting there going, you just don't give a fuck about me at all, and the reason I'm crying is because of you. So it was like, that helped me reassess what kind of a person he was, and whether I wanted to stick with him or come back to him. It's like, this was the 6th time we broke up, so would I bother coming back to this person? It's like, no, because you've got nothing to fucking offer and you're an asshole. So, you know, it's like you don't have any kind of concern for anyone around you besides what you can get out of them, whether they will be entertaining for you in alcohol way or sex way or money way, or it's like you only want to be entertained by the people around you because you're an arrogant, selfish piece of shit. It's like somehow I'd gone from my ex-husband to now my ex-boyfriend who was a fucking clone of each other, you know? I'm sitting going, how did I find 2 in a row? And I'm sitting there going, this is unhealed trauma. I've got to deal with this shit in silence on my own, get my head clear. So I'd be sitting there, I'd get in from work and I wouldn't think about going to, because normally I'd get in from work and I'd be like, all right, where are you? Oh, down in the pisser again. It's like, oh, fucking yay. Okay. I got sick of that lifestyle pretty fucking fast. So I'm going, this is bullshit. It's boring. It goes nowhere and we waste all our resources doing it. But he seemed to find it entertaining, and when we broke up, it was the place he was always at. So, you know, it sort of supported the idea that I thought he was an alcoholic anyway. I'm going, this guy never stops fucking drinking. But him being down there as the default gave me time to centralize my thoughts and feelings and figure out what I actually wanted. And I was sleeping on the floor in the spare room because I didn't want to risk sleeping in his bed in case, you know, he comes in drunk and all that shit. And he was that way inclined. So it's like, I can't even be safe doing that. So as long as I keep my distance, I can get my shit together and I can start working on an exit plan properly. There was some panic towards the end of that exit plan because he was getting all the sort of intel from the real estate people that we were renting from. And I didn't even know we were getting fucking evicted until I got a weird gut feeling and went and actually asked him, have you heard anything about, you know, sort of our lease lately? And then he says, oh, you didn't get the email. I was like, yeah, no, fuckhead, because you get the emails, don't you? So he was quite happy with me being homeless, it seems. So I'm like, you're an asshole. It's like, if it was something as big as, you know, you're getting evicted, you'd want to discuss it, wouldn't you? Regardless of whether you're fighting with the person or not. Or you broke up with them. He didn't give a fuck. He just did not give a fuck if I was homeless. He had already set himself up to go and live with his mate. So he's like, fuck anyone else. It's like, no, fuck you, asshole. You don't do that. It's a piece of shit, honestly. He's all about himself to the core. And fuck anyone else. It's a piece of shit, man. Anyway, fuck that guy, he's gone. Still dealing, you know what it is? I don't have a grasp of how someone could be that fucking self-centered. I don't, because it's like you have no guilt, you have no concern, you're just completely shut off from your emotions. Like, don't you feel fucking anything? Anything at all besides what can I get out of this? You know, it gives me the shit. It's like, it's inhuman. It doesn't make sense. But anyway, I could rant about that. And I think it hurts most because it's an unfamiliar thing. Because even though, like, my parents were assholes, you know, at least I knew there might have been some semblance of feeling there behind their actions. Even if it was just like rage. It's like, this fucker can just emotionally cut off from situations. And I'm sitting there going, right, well, if this is the tools we're using to deal with the situation, I'm going to fucking emotionally cut off too. And I did. Well, I tried. I did. Even after I left, I sent like maybe 2 or 3 emails checking in with him because I couldn't meet up with him physically because, you know, every time I met up with him, it's like, oh, let's go for coffee. Oh, let's go for lunch. Oh, let's go for drinks. Oh, look, you're on my couch and I'm fucking you. Great. Okay, so this is where we are again. So I couldn't physically meet up with him because every time I tried to check up on him, it would end up with, oh, my feelings, and oh, let's go have a drink, and oh, look, you're naked again. It's like, why do you fucking keep doing it? Why do I keep letting him do this to me? So I stopped. I had to draw back really, really hard on that by the 6th time. I'm terrible. The problem with being too nice. You be too nice and you find yourself in situations where, like, hey, wait a minute. Why are we drunk? Why are you doing this again? What the fuck? I just came to check on you. So, you know, some people you just gotta love from a distance, but by the 6th time, I'm like, there is no love, there is no concern, I have no fucking interest in this whatsoever, and I can see your conniving attitude and choices, and I know where this is gonna go, even if I did physically meet up with you, so fuck that. I did it by email. By the 3rd email, he had tried to find out where I lived from the girl at the gym, the front desk chick. He had signed up to my gym, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? He's creeping me out, because that creeped me out, because that's stalking. I'm going, this is fucked up. Don't do this. I don't want it. I've broken it off. Leave me alone. But by then I just dropped him cold. I'm like, I can't do this, because even me trying to be nice to him, even though I've made it absolutely clear that I don't want him, I did. In the email, I'm going, I don't want it, it's off the table. I don't want a relationship with you. I'm hoping that you get your shit together enough for your sake that you don't end up fucking homeless like you're afraid of. It's like, he's afraid of being homeless. I'm going, but you're doing nothing to help yourself. So what do you want me to do? You want me to wipe your ass for you? It's not going to happen. Because that's what he does. He finds someone to latch on that will pay for his shit so he doesn't have to. This is his work-life balance theory. I'm going, you are a full of shit asshole. No one is here to enable your gold digging. Stop it. Too old for this shit. Anyway, I could go on. I'm still processing that shit, that possibility, that potential. I'm going, what the fuck, dude? He's like, you are 40. Actually, he's older now, so it's even worse. But, you know, I couldn't figure it out. So giving myself that, January, February, March, April, 3 months of separating myself from, you know, the actions of going to the pub with him and hanging around with, or trying to be nice to his friends, who are not actually his friends. These are just people that work there, and he forced himself into their social group, so now they have to talk to him. He's not registering that, though, because he's thinking I'm, you know, God's gift to women and humanity, so... But anyway, people are weird. So I'm sitting going, I can actively feel that these fuckers don't want you here. And you are sitting in their break area, and it's making the situation worse. They're being nice to you because they have to be nice to you. Otherwise, they'll get fired. Yeah, it's a weird scenario. People just don't register. When they think they're so fucking brilliant, they just don't register that people don't want them there. It's like that autistic kid that finds me at recess, and you're sitting there thinking, I'm on break, I just want 5 minutes to get my head clear, but I'm going to be nice to you, because if I'm not nice to you, I'm going to get in trouble. It's like, I know you've got an interest in Pokemon, for fuck's sake, I really don't want to hear it, but his interest wasn't Pokemon, it was fucking Bitcoin, and I'm going, oh my god, shut up. Shut up. I'm being nice. I'm really trying to be nice, but you're really doing my head in. I don't give a fuck about Bitcoin. I don't. But you smile and you wave and you give him some money to invest, or you don't give it to him, but you follow his advice because you're trying to be nice. In the end, I cashed it in because I couldn't be fucked. I'm going, this is too much to manage. I'm just getting rid of it. Anyway, turn that into an ETF. It was way better. So, turns out I know more about shit than he does. But anyway, that's the thing. It's like, you try and be nice to these people, but in the end, some of the people have to fucking go because they're just detrimental to your health. And isolating yourself into hermit mode will actually give you the chance and space to reassess whether these people need to be in your life or not. Or if you're just humoring them, or you're just being nice, aren't you? I mean, most people just want to be nice. That's why we stick with people that are assholes at the gym and stuff like that, because, you know, if you punch them in public, you're probably going to get in trouble. Or is that just one of my recent desires, you know? Watching people at the gym going, why are you doing that? If these social norms didn't exist, you'd be unconscious. Really. Oh my god. Pet peeves. Anyway, I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to ignore the fact that you're doing what you're doing, even though you're doing it wrong. and you've got no consideration for anyone else in the area, apparently. But I'm being nice. I don't know how much of this is just me being a doormat, but I'm being nice. So if you reassess pretty much what's going on, hopefully you can rebuild a life of something you want to do. And things change as well. So when you go into hermit mode, what was useful before you went into hermit mode, which started, you know, playing up, might be the thing that needs to be removed now. It's like the amount of, I mean, it's a bit of a pathetic example, but the amount of jewelry I bought that I've thought, oh, that's pretty, or oh, that's a good bargain and stuff, and then it's broken. And you're sitting there thinking, oh, I can't even repair this one because it's one of those shitty pieces of jewelry. So I'm just going to have to get rid of it. Is, you know, it's the amount of times that's happened for me. And, you know, it's a weird, shitty material example, but at the same time. And I wouldn't liken it to people. But it's one of those things where you just have to reassess. Is it good for me? Is it working? Is it functional? Is it going to do me any good in the long term? Or is it just a piece of crap I picked up because it was cheap? And I suppose maybe you could assess people that way. It's like, that's horrible. It's like, is this person valuable to me, or is it a piece of shit that I tolerate because I have to, or I just don't see any way of disconnecting from it emotionally, even though, you know, I have to, because the only reason I'm keeping them around is because I don't want to be seen as an asshole. And we've all got friends like that. Well, there's a lot of guys I know that have friends like that. So you've all got that dickhead friend in your group that fucks it up, you know, fucks up your chances with girls because they don't shut up, or because they do something dumb. But you keep them around because you've known them this long, or because you assume that they're a good guy generally. And it's that tolerance. You've got to find that tolerance of, or that level of, he's like, what's that boundary where it's either it's tolerating something or it's just cowardice because you can't be fucked letting go, or something like that, you know? You just got to find that sort of point. It's like, is this person part of our group really, or are we just hanging around with him because we've known him this long? Is it trying to be nice, or is it just being a bit of a a coward? We can't let go because we've known him this long and no one wants to stand up to him and tell him he's acting like an asshole. It's like, there's always that person. It's like, you just want to be nice, but you don't want to be seen as the asshole for telling someone to fuck off for being an asshole. It's an internal struggle I think most people have. I mean, I isolate myself quite easily. I've never really craved social attention, so I don't mind being on my own. So if I find someone who gives me the shits, I generally will stay away from them. It might come across as a bit cold. I'm not trying to be cold. I'm just saying that, you know, I don't agree with what you're doing. I can't change what you're doing, so I won't hang around you. It's not like I want to control what you're doing. I'm just saying this isn't how my values line up, so I won't bother trying to interfere and trying to make you be like me, because in all honesty, I could be wrong myself. But if it's misaligning that much that it's now affecting how I live, like when I was hanging out with my ex-boyfriend's social group for a bit, where we were just drinking every time we met up, we were drinking. I was a teetotaler before I started dating my ex-boyfriend. I didn't drink at all. Because he was the reason I stopped drinking in the first place when I was in my early 20s. I had such a bad experience with him that I stopped drinking altogether, and then I went off and I finished uni, got married and all this other shit. Got back to him, 16 years later, thinking, oh, he might be different by the time I get there, because he's now 40. And it was the same fucking story all over again. And I'm sitting there going, why the fuck do I tolerate this shit? And I just cut him dead for there. I'm like, no. But I was picking up drinking. I mean, is that where it starts? Does it move on to drugs and things like that? Probably not, because I'm pretty old now and I just don't have that interest. Never really did have that interest. But it would have gone into other things, like just pissing money away, or associating with people because I wanted to fit in, or like, this is a friend of a friend of a friend. They've been to jail and shit like that. They don't always fucked up stuff, but because they're part of that group, I need to tolerate them in order to belong to that group. I'm sitting there going, do I actually want to include these fuckers as part of my identity by tolerating the shit just to say I belong to it? And I'm looking at the girls and I'm going, first of all, no, I don't want to be like them. No. Broke ass hoes, essentially. Fuckers got pretty ratchet for the sake of popularity. I'm going, well, I would never do that anyway. I'm not going to keep going with that, so that you guys can have that shit. If your popularity and value is based on how many of these fuckers you've slept with, I'm going to count myself out, because I don't want to do that. That's not how I value myself. So that was one part of the group I didn't belong to. It was like, there was other ones, like the guys could be sleazy, and I'm sitting there going, I don't, like, I had my ex-boyfriend's friend Simon sitting there grabbing my ass, and I'm sitting there going, I don't like this, so I told him off. I did, and that was funny. Yeah, anyway, I'll pull the Karen. And I was lecturing my ex-boyfriend at the time, because he was doing similar stuff, and he was like harassing bar staff and stuff like that, and I'm going, this is just embarrassing for you. And then he had other friends who were already involved with other people who were sitting there following me, and I'm going, I don't understand this and I don't want to participate in it because I know it feels wrong. I'm sitting there going, I wouldn't encourage this anyway, even if I was single, because you already got someone. I don't see the point in trying to take someone who's already taken. So it's like, it doesn't make sense. You don't get to, I'm sort of anti-Machiavellian. In order to hold that position, you would have to occupy it. Anyone who's read The Prince, it's like there's no point flirting. Oh, fuck off, mate. Don't you love people that indicate like halfway around the roundabout? Like, you're supposed to indicate before you enter it, you idiot. But Machiavelli says if you want to control and operate any kind of territory, and this is just politics-wise, you need to actually occupy it. And that was the problem with the Romans, is because they spread themselves so far they couldn't hold position because they just didn't have the numbers. It's like there's no point flirting with someone who's already involved in a situation, and it's a pretty solid situation, because you will lose them the same way you gain them, essentially. Is if they're flirting with you while you're outside of the relationship, when they're inside the relationship, they're going to be flirting with someone else. You're not going to be able to hold that position because they're just inconsistent. They don't value consistency. What they do to you, they'll do to someone else. This is the way they operate. If they got you by cheating on you, cheating on someone else, you're probably going to lose them by cheating as well. They're that kind of a person. So you're trying to see the good, and maybe you might think, oh, I'm more valuable and therefore they'll stick with me. It's like, no, they won't. It's the game they want. It's the tricking people into being taken, or, it's the hunt. They like the chase. They don't actually want you. You could be fucking anyone. And they will be fucking anyone if you think about it. It's the game. They just want to feel like they've achieved something. And if they've really honestly achieved nothing with their life, and their sole achievement is managed to steal someone's boyfriend or someone's girlfriend, then that's about it. That's about as far as they get, because they think they've achieved something and they don't have to try any harder. So if you've got your boyfriend or girlfriend by stealing them from someone else who was in a relationship, the chances are, first of all, the person who was stolen isn't worth having, because they're so, unstable that they're willing to just throw themselves out of a relationship. Because, someone flashed their tits or some shit like that. They're just unstable themselves, and you're not going to be able to keep them because they'll probably do the same thing to you. It's that if you find someone who is solid and faithful in a relationship, but it's the other person that fucks up, generally those people who are the solid, faithful ones will find someone and can still do long-term relationships. Like me, I'm fine with doing another long-term relationship because it was my ex-husband who fucked up. And after him came my ex-boyfriend that fucked up. I know I'm solid in a relationship. And I can't be stolen, because once I'm with someone, I don't do the fucking flirting thing. If someone's flirting with me, I'll look at them like they're fucking crazy. I'm like, what are you doing, moron? I already got someone, fuck. But you come to, anyway, a long tangent there. I've just pulled into work, so I'm gonna have to hurry up with this. But it's a case of, reassessing the people that are around you, and do you actually want to be like this? Is this how you identify your value system? Is this something that you would replicate? If you've got kids, is this something you would want your kids doing? Are you fine with your kids acting like this? It's a lot of problem as well. Coming to my age, a lot of people I know have got kids, and they're sitting there thinking, if you had a daughter and a guy did this to your daughter, how would you react? It's like, if you would react in a negative way, then why would you replicate these actions on other people? I mean, are you only being respectful because it's your kid? Or are you being respectful as a human being by not treating women this way? So you've got to think about what you're actually passing on, because what you enable now, if you're choosing to have kids later on, you need to be okay with, otherwise you're a complete hypocrite. If you've got a son and you're saying, now I'm going to treat women like shit, but when my son did it, it's not going to be okay, but you did it as an adult or as a parent, it's like, how is that, it's inauthentic. It's not, you can't keep doing it. It's hypocritical. It's crazy. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of family dynamics there I could go into, but I'm not going to because I'm just pulled up to work. But just don't say you're one thing and then not expect to take ownership of it. There's a lot of fakes in that social group that I left. A lot of people saying they are things, but not actually pulling through with them. And I got pissed off, and I'm sitting there going, there's nothing about me that's fucking fake, mate. Everything I've gone through, everything that I've, felt, or things that have pissed me off or fucked me over and stuff like that has built me. And I could sit there and I could whinge and bitch about being the victim and how I hate what happened and oh my God, and I had no money, went into debt, I was homeless and all this shit. But at the same time, it fucking made me. So I'm happy with the way things went. Maybe I would think differently if I developed some kind of a drug habit and just lost my shit completely. But the fact that I was, strong enough to fucking get through it, build it, get out of debt and all this kind of shit, it just proves how fucking right I was in moving forward. I don't say, there's nothing I could say that isn't proved by my actions already happening, I talk about being homeless. It's like, no, I actually got out of being homeless. I have an apartment now, I'm renting it, and next year I'll be buying an apartment. So it's like, you can actually progress through it. Don't just say, I did all this stuff and expect some kind of sympathy vote or updo without actually being able to back it up. So I've got a bunch of people in that social group that was like, oh, I've got my own YouTube channel. And then it goes nowhere. And I'm sitting there going, why did you bother telling people about that if you're not actually going to do it? Or there's a whole bunch of shit. I'm just looking at this group going, I don't identify with this fucking group because they're all fucking fake, or they're all trying to fuck each other or fuck each other over. And I'm sitting there going, if this is what represents me, then fuck this, I'm leaving. It's like, I don't want this. I don't want this. This is not me. This is not what I would stand for. This is not my values. And to say that I just belong to this group for the sake of saying I have people to hang around with or who enable my habits like drinking, which I didn't really develop habits of drinking. It was a pretty weak attempt, really. No, it was dragging me down. I was getting sick, I was getting fat, and I just didn't feel right in myself, morally, values-wise, and I thought, it's no loss for me to leave this group. It's actually a bonus, because as soon as I separate from it, my mental health improved, my body improved, I started training better at the gym again, because I didn't have to compensate for all the shit food I was eating, the alcohol, by trying to be a bit healthier and stuff like that. It worked out for me to leave, because it wasn't worth it. The risk to reward ratio just wasn't there. So it's not a problem to go into hermit mode. And I only decided that sort of thing in the last 3 months of living with an ex-boyfriend, because I'm sitting there going, if I walk away from all this, if I just cut it off now, where's it going to go? What's going to happen? And logically you figure out, it's only going to get better. These people are fuckheads. Why do I even associate with these fuck-ups? And the only reason I associated with the one strand I had with these guys, or girls, was my ex-boyfriend. And when I left him, I left everything. I'm going, there's nothing here to keep, really. It's like there's nothing of value here that I want to perpetuate in my next part of my life, because it's all destructive. It's all, you have to pay a price to participate, It's a ticket to a shit show. Why would you want to? It's an expensive shit show too. It's like, I lost a lot of money keeping these fuckers happy, going out drinking, being social with these fuck-ups. I'm going, I could have wasted that on something like, I don't know, a holiday. I would have been happier on a holiday going on another UK tour than hanging out with you fuck-ups. It's like, would have been way better. So, you got to reassess what's actually valuable to you. Don't just, I've got nothing better to do, so I'm just going to hang out with these guys, or I'm just going to do these things because it's in the immediate, and therefore, I don't have to think about anything long term. It's a weird thing. But hermit mode, again, I thoroughly recommend. Do it while it's voluntary, and rather than being forced into it, like prison and stuff, I would assume is the better option. But don't be afraid to, sit in silence with your thoughts. That's what people are afraid of. They don't want to have to deal with, they're in a monologue. And at times you're going to have to deal with trauma as well. Lots of people got trauma that they've just silenced with the noise of other people, or situations or jobs or work, or hobbies that just take up space and time. You don't have to think about the previous shit that you haven't dealt with. Majority of people, I bet, have got childhood wounds that just haven't fucking dealt with, because nobody really knows how to handle each other when you're kids. And as much as your parents might say they're doing the best, a lot of the time they're doing damage. Especially my parents, they're fucked in the head. But it's sitting in that silence and reassessing things that need to be done and dealt with and faced, rather than running away with alcohol and drugs and fucking around for popularity because daddy didn't love you, or daddy fucked off, or mummy didn't love you and made no emotional connection, so now you're looking for connection in women and men around you. It's like, if I just, fuck this person, I'm going to feel better about myself because I'll have some kind of emotional connection even though my parents failed me. It's like, no, you need to be fine within yourself before you start looking at other people, because there's potential for damaging other people by trying to medicate yourself with free pussy. It doesn't work that way. You're just spreading the damage. So take your hermit mode, fucking use it for good, and stop trying to fuck other people by medicating yourself with dumb shit. Okay? I know it sounds pretty blunt, but I'm tired of sugarcoating this shit for morons. I really am. It's horrible. I know, but we've all been through it. We're all gonna have to sit down and fucking deal with our shit before anyone else gets anything nice on their plate. So just stop. Go into hermit mode. Reassess what the fuck you're doing. Is it working? And for the love of God, stop hurting other people for the sake of trying to make yourself feel better. It's fucked up. It gives me the shits. It really does. Because it is. It's someone getting shat on and then smearing that shit on other people because you don't want to actually take the time to clean it. You know, it's a crass metaphor, but at the same time, it is shit. And you are willing to sit with that shit and finger paint other people with it because you can't take the time to sort it out, clean it off, definitely sanitize that shit because it's fucked up. But E. coli everywhere, baby. You don't want that. But you need to start. Why does it always end in poo metaphor? I work with kids. No, it's a big conversation when you have with kids. It's always toileting. It's like, did you go for it? Anyway, no, that's a whole different conversation. But handle it, dude. I mean, especially if you get to a certain age, you can't blame youth. You can't say, oh, I'm only 20 or I'm only this. So you get to at least 30, you got to look at yourself and go, well, this is fucked up. If I carry this on, it's going to go here. Look around you. Often the universe provides role models or anti-role models, as they did in my case, to show you where those decisions are going to go. You can reverse engineer those decisions. You can say this person started as here. This is how they, this is how they ended up. I'm going to backtrack that and see what decisions they made. And then I'm not going to do them because fuck that. If I look at both my parents, I know exactly how they got to that situation. And I said, all right, fuck that. I'm not doing that. I'll try something else. But, it's the willingness to sit down and actually go into hermit mode and sit with the voices that are telling you this bit is shit and we don't like it, so can you fix it now? Rather than just ignore it and plow over it and hope it goes away, because you can actually fix trauma. You can. You build bridges over the scar tissue. It's not just a case of leaving gaping wounds. You can fix it. You just got to stop and get into it and stop worrying about what people will think if you decide to cut them off, or if you change vast change, maybe your whole life is a bit fucked up, so now you need to completely reconfigure it because it's all lending itself to a fucked up existence. And sometimes it's a small job where I've just got to lose a person, or I've got to stop spending shit on, fucking, what is it? What do they say millennials do? Avocado toast? It's not that fucking expensive, I can tell you. Maybe I've just got to cut out avocado toast. And that will fix my problem. My spending problem, apparently, because boomers have no fucking idea. But, and it's just something as small as that, and you can just, tweak it. But sometimes you've got to completely let everything drop out of the arse, like my life did in 2018, to completely reassess what is happening and what is part of your personality, your behaviors, your attitudes that is perpetuating these fucked up circumstances. Because people don't want to deal with that because it means taking accountability and admitting you might be wrong. And there is a chance you might be wrong. That is fine. There's nothing wrong with being wrong, and there's nothing wrong with failing. And it's not really failing if you manage to catch it while you're falling and then try again, redirect it, isn't it? If you continue to keep following the destructive patterns and things and deny that they're happening, then yes, you are going to fail. It is failing in the process. You are in the process of perpetually failing. If you take a destructive route and you carry on down that destructive route out of denial or arrogance or refusing to believe that you could be wrong. Catching yourself before you hit the fall, before you hit the bottom, is what's going to be the best part of, figuring out how you can change it for the better. I mean, just don't sit in the fail. Sorry, I've got some old lady EA looking at me like, oh, I'm going to go talk to you. It's like, no, I'm not going to fucking talk. She's one of those annoying ones. Do you ever have those old ladies that are Karens, that are volunteers and they're not even getting paid, but they turn up just so they can interfere with your day and tell you how to do your job? I got one of those at the moment at this school I'm at now, and I'm like, I play nice, but realistically I would love to just cut you out. You're not even supposed to be here. But she's of that generation where she thinks she's right, and she has to fucking make sure that you know that she's right, even though she's not qualified for anything, but she's a volunteer and she's going to tell you how to do your job. And you're like, don't you have, I don't know, shandies or something to drink at home and go and do, or go lawn bowls? I don't know, fuck off. Anyway, Thursday is not a good for me this week. I'm going to school I don't particularly like. But, you know, I digress. Anyway, you got to start making your choices. Even with situations like this crazy old lady, I know that it's temporary. I just want them to fuck off. And they will eventually, and I'll probably just cut the school out because she gives them the shit. But if I tweak it now or soon, I should be okay. All right, so I want you to have a fantastic day, even though I sound like a bit of a bitch at the end of that. I don't care. It is what it is. Have a fantastic day. Try and get your shit right. Try not to take things personally. And if you do get a chance, absolutely go hermit mode. It is invaluable for figuring out what you need from life and getting stuff done. Okay? I'm wishing you luck and hope and healing and all that extra crap and glitter and shit. Because some of it is just glitter for the sake. It's a placebo effect, isn't it? Someone says like something horrible happens, they go thoughts and prayers, and you go, this is just glittery shit to make you feel better, isn't it? Yeah, but I feel like I'm doing something. It's like when I can't do something. So sometimes that placebo effect is actually valuable. Most of the time I'm sitting there going, you don't even fucking mean that, but you know, you got to get going. All right, so have a good one, guys. It's nearly Friday, and hopefully I can upload these on the weekend. I'll chat to you next Thursday.